Hey, this is Neil Bawa, the mad scientist of multifamily, and you're listening to the Mailbox Money Show with Bronson Hill.
Welcome to the Mailbox Money Show. I'm your host, Bronson Hill. I'm here with my co host, Nate Hambrick, who is the author of the 18 Laws of Leverage. Nate, we're talking about raising capital. And I know sometimes when I first started raising capital, it just kind of felt impossible, right? How in the world could I ever raise money? And now it's been $50 million. I know you're actually also starting to raise some capital. What do you think is a mindset that needs to shift when people start raising capital?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I'm really excited to chat with Dave about is just how he harnesses attention, right? And there is a mindset that goes into that, right? You have to be bold. You have to put yourself out there. You can't be timid and then go ask somebody for $1 million. Like you have to be confident and you also have to have a lot of credibility online. And so I'm really excited to chat with Dave because I know he's really good at what I call the 18th law of leverage, which is harnessing attention. So this is going to be a fun show.
Yeah, it really will be a fun show. And Dave, super excited to have you today. So this is Dave Dubeau. He's been doing it a long time and he has, raised millions of dollars. He has hundreds of students that have bought hundreds of millions of dollars of different real estate deals. And I think people that find most value in this is if you are raising capital, if you're interested in raising capital, or if you're a business person. I mean, I think sales and raising capital is actually to raise capital. I didn't realize this actually is a sales skill, but sales skills are one of the most important skills that you have in life. You've got to sell yourself on an idea. You've got to sell sometimes your spouse on an idea. You've got to sell investors on an idea. And then you've got to go forward and do it. So the people that are the most successful in business or in life are really good at recruiting other people over their way of thinking. And so Dave has just some very creative ways. He's talked about getting 20 accredited investors, new accredited investors every week, every month. And how do you go about doing that? So Dave, welcome. Good to have you in the studio today.
Gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for that lovely introduction. Yeah, I've been around the block a lot, you guys, and what I my main shtick these days is the whole podcast thing. We happen to be on one right now, so I think we're gonna have a fun conversation. And I don't know about you guys, but I personally, I pretty much did everything you could possibly do wrong when I started my podcast and made a ton of mistakes and didn't have much success for a long time until I switched my mindset and really kind of focused on giving value first and focused on the other person versus trying to make myself look like a rock star. So I think it'll be an interesting conversation.
That's really interesting you say that because when I first started doing this, I mean, there's this thing called imposter syndrome, and almost every single successful person I've ever met has at some point had this. And it comes out most when you're around your peers, right? You're around your peers and you're like, I should know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about. So when I started a meetup in Los Angeles. I was like, I'm going to start doing multifamily real estate. I started a meetup, and I'm at like in front of 60 people and I'm leading the room, and I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm just simply like the dumb guy. I mean, I'm not dumb. I wasn't smart, but I didn't know. I didn't have any multifamily apartments. I wasn't an investor in that. I had single family, and yet I'm the one kind of asking the questions. So there's a difference though between being an expert, right? Being a PhD in some topic or having some expertise, and being a leader. And I think that's where like to raise capital, you can be a leader in the space and not be an expert, and people will trust you, right? Can you talk a little bit about kind of how do you position yourself as a leader? Like, how do you do that so that you actually, even if you don't know everything, you can find a way to provide some value to people?
I don't even worry about it.
Yeah. Okay.
So here's the thing, you guys. Early days when I started my show, 2018, which is a long time ago in podcast years, I was trying to do like all the big guys. Like I'd see these guys starting their podcasts and they're interviewing the Kiyosakis and the Grant Cardones of the world, and they're creating this huge audience and they're raising tons of capital. They're doing tons of business from this audience. So I was trying to do that. Like I was trying to build up a really big audience. And quite frankly, it was, and hoping that some of those people in the audience would clue in that I was a smart guy and hoping they'd kind of clue in to click on a button and book a call or something would happen. And it was a lot of hoping and not much happening.
Yeah.
So it wasn't working, and I was doing like a weekly show or sporadic show, and I was getting kind of burnt out and frustrated with the whole thing. And then I saw somebody way smarter than I am, listened to him actually on a podcast, and he said, "You know what? I do things differently. Instead of trying to create an audience of my ideal client or investor or avatar, whatever you want to call it, I just skip to the front of the line and I interview the exact people I want to work with, the exact people I want as my clients. And I don't even worry about the audience size. And what I do is instead, I focus on doing more interviews. So the penny drop for me is like, holy crap, that is smart. That's what I'm going to do. So I switched
Yeah.
gears, started just interviewing the exact folks I wanted to do business with. And instead of doing one interview every week or 2 weeks, I got to the point, you guys, I don't recommend this for anybody. I was doing 25 to 30 interviews a week.
Wow.
That's awesome. It's like death by podcast interview. If you like,
Yeah,
let
it
him,
was
like,
death.
hey, how's it going? What's your name? What's your favorite color? I don't have any
Exactly.
questions. Just talk.
Where'd you go to
Like, I
kindergarten?
imagine after a while, you get to be a little bit like,
Yeah, I got burnt out. I really did. I've geared it back. My sweet spot now is about 10 to 12 interviews a week. We do them pretty short and sweet. They're about 20-minute conversations. We don't
yeah,
talk about favorite colors and where we went to kindergarten. It's right into what's their secret sauce. So I'm naturally curious. I find it very interesting. So here's where the other thing switched, you guys. Instead of trying to, make the podcast about me and try to slip in how smart I am and self-promote and all this kind of stuff, I completely got rid of that. And I make the show 100% about the guest, making them shine, look good, feel good, sound good. That creates rapport. That creates reciprocity. And then I just kind of, at the end, find out a little bit of if what I do is even of any interest to them, if they're having a challenge in my area. And if they are, then I invite them for a follow-up conversation about that. And
let
that's
me
where
pause you for one sec because there's so much gold you're sharing right here. Anybody who raises capital just in life,
yeah.
you make it 100% about the guest. You're basically just taking a genuine interest in them. And then in the process of that, you're going to see is there something that they can use some help with. And that's what that is. That's really good. That's just being a good person, but it's also being like a really good sales. Good sales is not salesy, right? We've all been like, hey, you look nice in this nice 1972 Buick. And you're like, oh my gosh, get me out of this used car lot. I don't want to be here at all. But I also, you said two things here that were interesting is you're basically doing it very differently than what other people are doing. And I think that's the key to capital raising. If you're doing what everybody else is doing and just having a podcast and doing a thing and whatever, it's like, okay, it's going to be okay, but it's not going to really be what is going to work. And then I love what you shared about, this is kind of something, of course I made fun of it, but 30 episodes a week or 30 calls a week or podcasts. It's like when you do something that feels uncomfortable and you scale it up, then when you dial it back a bit, it doesn't feel so unmanageable. So I do this in a different area of life, but I think it applies. I listen to audiobooks, and I first started listening to audio. If you listen, do you guys listen to audiobooks a little bit? I listen.
I'm
to
more of a
audiobooks.
reader, but yeah, I enjoy
Yeah.
audiobooks.
With audiobooks, I would start and I'd kind of go like, oh, it seems I can maybe listen a little faster, maybe 1.25 or 1.5. And then I got to where I was like I kind of like get to 1.75 too. And then it started to get a little stressful. Like I'd be like, oh my gosh. Well, then I pull it like just back to where it's not stressful anymore. So you like kind of get yourself a little uncomfortable and then you pull it back. And so I would typically now I listen to them kind of between 2 and 3 speed, depending on, but it's because I've trained myself that I can absorb it. I actually absorb really well. But if I wasn't like people like they hear me listen to something like, oh, what in the world are you doing over here? You listen to the chipmunks talking, but I can actually absorb it. I wanted to ask, I want you to continue on your story real quick. But I want to ask Nate a quick question here. Nate, what are you hearing as far as doing different than what other people are doing in this space? So I pointed a couple things. What else did you? Because there's quite a few things you shared.
Yeah, I call it guerrilla warfare marketing. And I love it. Anytime, Bronson, you use the term the third door marketing or the third door, which is basically finding another way to talk to your ideal buyer. And so I thought it was really, really cool that you interview these people for 2 reasons. One, they might want to hire you and you might discover a need in your conversation. And also, if you're talking to your ideal buyer, chances are the conversation is going to go the way that you want it to for all the people listening as well. So it's kind of 2 birds with 1 stone. Bronson kind of brought this up earlier, but one of the things that I learned from Mike Michalowicz, the author of Profit First, is he will shower other authors on Amazon with just amazing video reviews on everything he loves about their books. And it does a few things. One, it helps the other author, right? I'm sure there are lots of connections that he has because of that, but also it establishes him as the credible source. And so you can go on the internet and find, I'm going to say hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these video reviews on Amazon from the author Mike Michalowicz of Profit First, just everywhere. They're everywhere. And so, I call it guerrilla warfare marketing. I'm a huge, huge fan. And then once you find something that works, just do it 100 times or 1,000 times in a row.
Love it.
Yeah, good points.
Yeah. So Dave, we interrupted you. You were sharing your gold, and we got sidetracked. But so you will do podcasts. These are published podcasts you do with investors, and some of them are their capital raisers. So looking for the promotion, and then you kind of talk with them, and then the process you offer coaching. So you'll kind of help people to be
Actually,
on this
no,
path.
we don't do any coaching. We do it's a turnkey done for you service where we basically build a podcast for a client, fill it up with their ideal avatar,
Love it.
do all of the production work for them, create all of the social media content for them and their guests. And all they have to do is show up on Zoom with a smile and a clean shirt, and everything else magically happens in the background.
So this is amazing here. I want to point this out that like it's not just raising capital. Like there's raising capital and everybody's like, I want to be a capital raiser. But there's things around raising capital. There's things about empowering people to do it. And sometimes like we got into doing multifamily real estate. We raised about $30 million for that. Then we shifted and we started doing, especially a few years ago, we started shifting to go into cash flowing assets, right? We went into oil and gas. We went into buying businesses, debt funds. And it's like, it's amazing how sometimes the thing that you start with, because you started raising capital, then you realize like, hey, if I figured out how to do this, I figured out kind of a secret sauce moment here. And if I can just do this for other people and give it to them in the box, that there's value there. And so do you do like, is it a profit share or is it just a one-time fee you do and then people come in and they pay you and then they've got a out of the box podcast ready to go?
Yeah, we charge a fee to get everybody up and going and launched. And then it's a month to month pay as you go kind of thing if they want to continue working with us. So yeah.
And how did you come up with that idea of like, I'm going to build a product for capital raisers? And again, the reason I'm sharing this slowly is because everybody thinks they want one thing, but sometimes like you'll kind of like step off a little bit. I was like, oh, maybe it's actually this thing. Because the people that actually made money in the gold rush, it wasn't mostly the gold miners. It was the people selling picks and shovels and the hotels. I think a lot of these hotels start. So it's like there's a lot of money around it, right? So you found something that's valuable. But like, how did that happen? Did somebody just kind of ask you to do it one time, or like how did that kind of get started for you?
Well, it's the first time anybody asked me that question, Bronson. So yeah, it's kind of fun. So for years and years, I was working in the raising capital space for mom and pop real estate investors who were just getting started with raising capital. That was kind of my niche. I didn't have a huge track record in multifamily or raising huge amounts of money for big deals. So I didn't really have anything to offer syndicators and fund managers and these kind of folks. And bottom line, it kind of came around through necessity because as we're all very, very aware, the real estate market's been a little bit upsy-turvy, ups and downs over the last few years, right? And a lot of mom and pops are getting washed out or they're quitting or they're in hibernation mode. So my business, which is really it's a marketing agency for lack of a better term, we help people generate leads, right? So my business was kind of shrinking rapidly in that department. But for the last few years, I'd been doing this podcast thing myself as a way of generating business for my business, my own marketing agency. So then it kind of came, I'd been thinking about it. It was like, you know what? I think this would work really well for syndicators and fund managers. This is a good way for them to connect with accredited investors on a consistent basis, because that's what a lot of them want, is a consistent source of these relationships without cold calling and networking and schmoozing and all the icky stuff, right? So then I just decided, hey, I'll start this up, and I started with a little beta group of 4 clients, and got started April of 2024, and year and a bit we're into this, and it's working pretty well.
And the rest is history. What are I'm curious, since you've not just done it for yourself, but you've also done it for lots of people, what are some of the biggest mistakes people make when starting a podcast? What are some of the biggest mistakes they make when putting themselves out there?
I made all the mistakes, so it's easy.
Yeah.
So The big mistake, or at least this is my opinion, you guys, and you guys are in this space, and no offense to anybody in this space, but big mistake is kind of creating a podcast all around ourselves and what we're up to in real estate. And then at least this was my mistake. And then trying to grow the audience and just focusing all this stuff on audience growth and vanity metrics. How many downloads have I had? How many reviews are all this stuff, which are great. There's nothing wrong with that. But unless you're a Joe Rogan or some huge influencer, you ain't going to be monetizing your podcast very well if that's what you're relying on. If you're trying to sell ads on your podcast, you're trying to do this, you need gazillions of downloads for anybody to pay any attention to you. So that's not great. So that the solution to that is, again, focusing on your avatar. I'll give you an example to make this more concrete. We're working with a syndicator who is a medical doctor by trade. He's a medical doctor and a multifamily syndicator. Well, guess who he resonates with? Medical professionals, right? Because he is one. Right. Guess who he wants to raise capital from? Medical professionals. But instead of saying Dr. Tudor's syndication show, which is what most of us would do when we're getting into a podcast, and it's kind of all about showing off what we're doing and multifamily and whatever it is we're up to, we created his show, Stellar Success, Leveling Up for Medical Pros. Does it say anything about real estate? Zero. Nothing about real estate. And then in the last year and a bit, we've gotten, I believe, 166 plus medical professionals to be guests on his show. And it's all about him shining the spotlight on the guest. Yeah. Putting them up on the pedestal. And they can have an intelligent conversation with him because he's a medical professional. He knows his stuff, right? But it's really, really focused on the guest. So those would be a couple of the big mistakes is wrong positioning and then trying to make it all about ourselves.
I heard somebody say it this way once. If you're somebody's putting yourself out there, and I'm talking, this is a little bit different episode than we usually do. Usually we're talking to mostly passive investors, but if you're putting yourself out there saying, hey, I'm hanging a shingle, I want to do this, I want to raise capital, I want to have this brand, even branding in general. If you make your social media about yourself, your channel won't grow. But if you make it about other people, it will grow. And so every time I post something, I have to ask, because like I ran a half marathon this weekend, right? It was a lot of fun. It was really hard, and I posted some on stories, like on Facebook stories. You can kind of post some things. Like, here's me on the thing, but like that stuff goes away in 24 hours. But I don't want to waste people's time. I want them to know that every time they look at my stuff, there's something of value there, right? That they're going to get something out of it. It's not like, your mom is going to be interested in all your pictures, but not everybody's going to care, right? So getting out of that, and I guess. So for you, I mean, you've shared some really good nuggets there on how to do it. Where do you think, I'm actually curious where you think all of this is headed, because now we have, I think there's something like, I don't know, 6 million podcasts in the US. There's AI is changing a lot of things when it comes to automating things. We're getting these messages in our LinkedIn and our socials all the time, like what's real, what's not. Now, some of these influencers people follow are even fake, like created image profile models or whatever. So I mean, obviously people are going to want to own assets. So you work with people raising capital, primarily probably for real estate. What are some changes you think that are coming in this space for capital raisers in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, that is good. AI is an amazing tool. It's also very scary, and it's being overused, and it is creating a ton of distrust, justifiably, with everybody, right? It's just so easy to deep fake things. But here's what's very difficult to deep fake. It's very difficult to deep fake a relationship, right? So I think, and obviously I'm biased, but I've
been in a couple deep fake relationships though, romantically, and it hasn't gone. No, yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
Oh man, yeah, I've been down that path myself.
Okay, sorry. Get deep fake. Okay, when it comes to raising capital,
getting back to this. So
back to the point.
Back to the point. I think here's the thing, you guys. When you connect with somebody one-on-one, like we are right now, like this would be very hard to deep fake, and why would anybody want to, right? So this is a genuine conversation, a genuine connection, and it's not some automated AI bot going out there trying to hook people into something, right? So if anything, I believe the currency moving ahead is going to shift from just volume of content and that sort of thing to quality of connection, genuine connection, right?
Yeah.
Like actually knowing people. And
I,
this helps with that.
I want to ask Nate a question on this here in a minute too, but so we've shifted. I have a theory on this too, is that, it is getting harder to tell what's real. It's getting harder. There's so much, you get a phone call, and I heard somebody getting a phone call from someone, and they said, "I've got your daughter hostage," and their daughter screaming in the background. And it was all from a fake audio that they created, and they were demanding hostage. I'm gonna kill her right now. Unless she, what a terrible situation, but she was able to text her daughter and, "Oh, I'm fine," whatever. But I mean, just crazy stuff. But so I think that as that stuff gets weirder and more challenging to tell what's real, being in the room, obviously being on a call, but being in the room. So that's why we have a mastermind group for high net worth passive investors called the Wealth Forum. We meet 4 times a year, and it's you get in the room, and it's the more virtual we become, the more we want that in-person thing. Nate, what would you say in response to this? What's a good way to leverage relationship? Obviously it used to be people would raise capital. You do a big dinner and have a bunch of people over at a steakhouse, whatever. You just this was, 20, 30 years, this is what people would do. And now it's I mean, I've raised $50 million, and I'd say, 95% of those people I hadn't met before they invested, right? So in person. So what do you think, from a leverage standpoint, how can you authentically reach more people without doing it in a weird deep fakey kind of way? If that's a word, deep fakey.
I mean, we'll coin it. Merriam-Webster needs to catch up.
I'm on a roll today.
I'm a big fan in the two-hand punch with this, where you want a lot of credibility online, and then you want the physical element as well. So you want both. So what does that look like, right? There are lots of different ways to do it. I'll share how I do it. The biggest thing I've done to increase my visibility ever in my life was publishing 2 books that are in the top 1% of the top 1% on Amazon, right? So I've got Crush Your Kryptonite. I've got the 18 Laws of Leverage. When people don't trust me and they Google me, they don't just have 5 backlinks, they have 500 backlinks, right? That
Right.
adds a lot of credibility for myself online, but that's not enough in my opinion. Because Grant Cardone has 50 million backlinks, right? There are people that no matter how big you go, there are people who go bigger. And so what I've figured out is how to successfully leverage the same asset to then get the in-person meetings. So what does that look like? Right there, I use my book to do paid speaking for conferences. I'll be speaking at Limitless. I believe, Bronson, you're speaking there as well next weekend. Actually, I'm flying out on Wednesday to Ryan Pineda's event. He's a real estate guy, Christian real estate guy in Las Vegas. And then there's that human element, right? I will be speaking with people one-on-one. They will know that I'm real. Yes, they'll see me on stage, but they're also going to talk with me one-on-one. They can Google me. I have no idea if they're going to Google me or not, but just adding several layers of credibility, I think, is really, really helpful.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. So Dave, I know you, so you've given away some of your best nuggets here, which I love. And I know you've probably got plenty more too. What would you say? I mean, what's a process? Like you said, you have a process where you have people have conversations with the people they're trying to reach. Like you said, somebody who's a physician can reach other physicians. Is there a process you take people through to kind of help them hone in? This is my story, or this is my niche, or this is my genre, right? We know certain people that are known for this certain thing. How do you, or is that something people just kind of discover over time? I guess when it comes to their role within the marketplace.
Yeah. So what we do, Bronson, is when we're working with a new client, we look at, okay, who is your existing investor base? And most of these folks have not raised $50 million. So they're, in the 5 to 10 million range, and they know who all their investors are, and they've kind of met them, and they, name associates with the face kind of thing. Okay. Are there any commonalities amongst a good chunk of these people? Do they tend to be self-employed business owners, entrepreneurs? Are they, high income professionals? Are they C-suite executives? There's something kind of common around that. And then we might build the show around that. On the other hand, if they got a broad range, we kind of say, well, okay, are there chunks and categories like business owners, professionals, C-suite executives that you kind of have evenly? Then we create a little bit more of a generic type show that still appeals to all of them. So the common theme amongst all of these shows is personal, professional, and financial success. Like you talk to anybody that's an accredited investor, chances are they know a thing or two about personal and professional and financial success. They've done something right, right? And we can get that conversation going that way. So we look at who are your existing investors first, and then let's start with them. Instead of going after fresh new investors, why don't we leverage the folks that we already have? Why don't we give them the platform first? Why don't we shine the spotlight on them? So we invite 15, 20, 25 of their current and past investors as the first guests. That gets our new host some easy at bats with people that they already know. So they're kind of nice, easy, friendly interviews. And then if we do it right, we can get a triple whammy with that one interview. And here's how we do this, you guys. I get the client to do a little bit of homework before they interview their investor. Pull up the last investment that they did with you. Remind yourself what the numbers were, what kind of returns they got, all this kind of stuff. Just have that handy. Then you jump on the call with the person. These are all done on Zoom. And the first couple of minutes to say, so let's say Bronson, let's just pretend you are one of my investors, right? You're not the hotshot real estate guy that you are. You're a self-employed attorney or something like that, right? Okay. I'm getting you on as my guest. Hey, Bronson, thanks so much for being one of my inaugural guests on the show. Really looking forward to our interview. Now, Bronson, I've also want to do a quick little deal update with you at the end of the interview. Can you stick around for about 10 minutes after our interview and I'll just go over things with you? What are you probably going to say, Bronson?
Sure, man. No problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Boom. So then we jump on, we do our warm, fuzzy interview for about 20 minutes. I position Bronson as a great guy and make him comfortable and feel good, look good, sound good. And then at the end, I want to get the trifecta, the perfect trifecta. So at the end, I'm going to say, hey, Bronson, I'm just reviewing our notes and here's what we did for you with that last deal, because Bronson's already forgot, right? So you invested 100,000 with us. It was for 2 years in ABC property on 123 Street. And we got you your $100,000 back at the end of those 3 years. We gave you 14 disbursements of whatever and all your money back plus this much. So at the end of the day, when the smoke cleared, you got a total return on investment of X. Okay. So Bronson forgot all of this. So he's going, wow, okay, that's cool. So here's what I wanted you guys to leverage this. So Bronson, we really value as one of our valued investors on this project. Now, you're always going to get first dibs on any new projects that come down the line. We've got a really interesting one that I think you might be interested in. Could we book in a quick little follow-up call and have a chat about that? Now, what do you think Bronson's going to do? Probably yes, right? So we book that in, get that in the books. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, Bronson, so I know that you were kind of nervous about investing with us in the first place. You didn't have much experience with real estate. How do you feel about the whole process now? Get him to kind of free flow and talk about his feelings. How does this compare to, I think you were investing in stocks and bonds previous to that. How do these kind of returns and the stability and the security compare to what you were doing in the stock market? Get him to talk a little bit about that, right? And then, just kind of asking these open-ended questions. And here's my goal. I'm looking for sound bites. I'm looking for little nuggets of gold that Bronson says, because whatever Bronson says about investing with me is way more powerful than anything I could ever say.
100%.
Right? And we're getting this on video. This is after the interview, but this is the post-interview conversation. I've clicked record. And we're getting all of this. And then I'll say, hey, Bronson, you said a few nice things there. Would you mind if I used a few bits and pieces of this as a video testimonial? Would that be okay?
Wow, that's really good.
Then what's he probably going to say?
Yeah. Do you also, just out of curiosity, because you're getting 12 birds with one stone here. So you're obviously, people believe 100% what they say, right? So you're asking them leading questions. They know it's recorded. So they're going to fight for the best answer possible, which means that they're fighting for the best answer for themselves. So then you're leveraging that for client testimonials for credibility online. And then I'm assuming you're also leveraging that to get them in the next deal. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I kind of did it backwards. I would actually do the testimonial stuff first.
Okay.
Then I'd say, hey, Bronson, we got a really good deal. Would you like to take a look at it? Okay. I'd go in that order, actually. So we're leveraging that. And then the third thing I do is I say, hey, Bronson, you're going to get first dibs for sure, but do you have, we're always doing new deals and we're raising millions of dollars for our projects. Do you happen to know anybody else who
That's
might
good.
be interested in this kind of investment?
I love it.
Boom,
That's
warm introduction.
that's a great strategy that people have lost, the art of the referral, where
Mhm.
it's like I really think it's the best sales strategy that doesn't cost any money, and you can do it in a way that's just like, hey, I love working with you. This is really fun. Are you enjoying this? This is great. Especially like sometimes we'll do it with first distribution, right? First distribution happens. Hey, I just want to check in with you. How's it going with you? Are you happy? Oh yeah. Well, hey, that's great. Well, we'll have some more stuff coming up, but I just want to know, like, I had a guy actually when he gave me a testimonial. He said, we invested in your oil and gas deal, and I was able to retire my wife. And I was
Wow,
like, oh, so he did
beautiful.
a video testimonial. And then, so I was like, okay, great. Well, do you know anybody else that might benefit from you? It's like you got somebody super excited. And
Yeah.
so it's amazing. And then, and it's just like, or even you can say, is there anybody that you know at work that you talk to about this kind of stuff about finances, whatever? And they'll be like, oh yeah, I know Mark. Or something like, but like, if you just ask for referral, they don't necessarily know.
Yeah,
But
they're
if you
kind of
like,
blank.
is there anybody in your family? Is there anybody at
Do you
work? Is
want to
there?
hear an even
Yeah, please,
kind of a
please.
sneakier way? Well, not sneaky,
Yeah,
that's the wrong word, but stealthy way to do this. So
yeah,
yeah, you could go direct like that. That's still kind of tough for people, right? Because they're referring you to somebody, and there's hundreds of thousands of dollars at stake, and that's a big ask.
that's true.
If you want to chicken out on that a little bit, but still get the same result, here's something else you just interviewed this guy on your podcast, right? So Bronson, yeah, that was great. Now, do you happen to know anybody else like yourself, successful business person, who might like to be featured on this podcast? That's an easy one, right? Because
Yeah, yeah,
they're giving you you're now Bronson, you're going to be the hero to your buddy because you're getting him free PR, free publicity, free exposure, marketing, all this kind of stuff by being so you're going to be more than willing to introduce me to your super successful people to be
yeah.
guests on your podcast.
That's
And
it.
then third level ninja strategy with this, just because we're full transparency sharing everything here, you guys. Ninja
Yeah,
strategy is chances are, Bronson, if you're that successful attorney or whatever, and you're on LinkedIn, who are a lot of your connections on LinkedIn? Other people just like you, right? So
sure.
birds of a feather flock together. So now, after I've interviewed Bronson, let's say you and I are connected on LinkedIn. Now I can use LinkedIn Sales Navigator, find out who all of Bronson's second degree connections are that aren't connected to me and are connected to him, who are kind of or similar to Bronson. Then I can reach out to them and say, hey, John, just interviewed our mutual connection, Bronson Hill, had a fantastic interview on my show. Here's a link to it if you want to check it out. I was checking out your profile. I think you'd make an amazing guest as well. Here's what's in it for you. Would you like to be a guest on my show?
I love it. I love it.
Right?
No, it's so
Boom,
good.
boom, boom. Yeah.
So good.
It
Yeah,
I
works.
just
that's
added you on LinkedIn, by the way, Dave. You got to
Nice.
take action on these things. That's a really helpful nugget. Thanks for sharing.
My
well, it,
pleasure.
it it really comes from. I mean, actually, it's how I think you reached out to have, or somehow we connected through a podcast I was on, and you're like, hey, well, could I also be a benefit to your audience? And you're just, and the amazing thing is, and this is, I think, the biggest thing for anybody raising capital is always like the what's in it for them, right? It's
Mhm.
like anybody you talk to, an investor, like, can I just help someone? If someone has an issue with, like, somebody says, hey, can I refer you to someone? They're having a finance thing or whatever, and it has nothing to do with like what, but they're a good friend. I was like, hey, sure, I'd love to help in any way I can, right? Just to like help because I value the relationship with the person referred. And then maybe I can help them, maybe I can't, but I at least want the person who I help to say, hey, he couldn't really help me, but he was really nice, gave me some thoughts and ways, he made some introductions or whatever. So like that's great, right? If I can just help somebody along the path, then in this space, especially the financial space, if you get known as somebody who just helps people, like that trust, like it goes so far. It doesn't mean like we've had deals, we've had losses on deals, we've had challenges on things, we have things that have gone phenomenally well, we have things that have not gone phenomenally well. But I'm very upfront about, hey, this is investing, this is what this is, right? But
Yeah.
but I think just being able to be honest and kind of share about those things really makes you more credible, and that's where the whole deep fake culture, people are looking for what's real.
Yeah.
Nate,
Yeah.
yeah, Nate, I want you to jump in there too, more about kind of creating value for people and leveraging just things that you're hearing in this, because you have the 18 laws of leverage. You're like the leverage guy. So give some more leverage here.
I mean, there's so many applications. What I love about everything that Dave's doing is his ideas are very, very scalable, right?
Mhm.
Whenever he has an idea that works once, he can do it 50 times or 150 times in a row. Dave, you've also got multiple books, which is great. That's one of my favorite things is bottling the concept that you have, creating a product once that you can sell infinitely, right? My very first book, I sold tens of thousands of copies of. My newest book that literally just came out, I'll probably do 100,000 units just
Wow.
on that one book. And the reason is I took a concept, right? I bottled it, I packaged it in something, and then sold it lots and lots of times in a row. One of the things that I love doing as a sales professional, and entrepreneurs can use this, sales professionals can use this, is I'll create secondary products that the client needs and put it in a video format or a course format and offer it as an action bonus, right? And you would be amazed if you can add $1,000 worth of value or $7,000 worth of value to the client, but it costs you nothing. Give it to them for free if they'll sign up on the spot. Real estate agents can do the same thing, right? I had some friends I recommended that they create a course on how to figure out what to fix in your home and what not to fix before you sell it. And here's the genius of it. They create it once and it generates leads, right? It also generates a passive income drip, and they can then put affiliate links in there. So they're making affiliate links to all the local contractors, and then it comes back to them. So they've got 6 streams of income from one tiny little course. So same thing with what you're doing. You've got so many, whether you've called it leverage or not, I love hearing all the different points of leverage you already have incorporated into your business. It's really cool.
No, thanks.
Yeah, it is really exciting. Yeah, so I guess what is well, you gave a bunch of great kind of takeaways on how to get started, and some ninja applications of it as well. I'm just curious, what are some qualities? I think you'd say, raising capital is not for the faint of heart. Everybody likes to sell the plus sides of it. Hey, you get to do this, and you get, I love the travel, and I love having flexibility. I love all that stuff. But a lot of people try it, and a lot of people that were doing this a few years ago are not doing it anymore, right? They've kind of had some real bumps in the road. So what separates people that are continuing on years after year? You've been doing this a long time. What are the qualities that you see in those people versus kind of the, most people, 80, 90% of people that try it for a few years and they go on to do something else?
Yeah, I think it goes back to one of my favorite marketing sales mentor kind of guys, Chet Holmes, who if you're not familiar with the book, The Ultimate Sales Machine,
Okay.
that's a go-to for sure book. Nate, you would love it. He calls it pig-headed determination, persistence and determination, right? So it's just that I'm not going to let this sink me. I've kind of burned my ships. This is the only option kind of thing. And it's just forging ahead. And the other thing is, like you were referring to before, Bronson, is being upfront with your investors, not only when times are going well, but even more importantly, when times are sucking, which a lot of people are naturally inclination is to hide and hope it goes away and then pop our heads out when times are looking better. No, the really successful people, they are facing it. They are having those difficult conversations with their investors and explaining things and not leaving them hanging. Even if they're going to have a cash call, even if the whole deal is going to go to crap and everybody's going to lose their money. It's being brave enough to face that straight on and explain to people what's happening, and take ownership of the screw ups that you had if you made mistakes in that deal and just kind of be right up front about it. That's huge.
I actually learned that from a guy named Ryan Stewman of the Hardcore Closer. He's a young guy. He's probably worth 50, 60 million. And he does it really, really well. Where whatever his biggest weak point is, whatever the thing that somebody's going to call him out for being a fraud or whatever, he not only addresses it, he makes that his main selling point. Almost to an not quite, but almost to an obnoxious level, but it's extremely effective. And so the biggest thing that people can call him out for from a credibility standpoint is he went to jail. And so guess what he does? He talks about how he went to jail all the time. and what he learned from it and how it applies to business. And people trust him, right? He does a lot of business deals. I see people doing deals with him all the time from afar. He lives like 100 miles north of me, and I see his activity everywhere because he took the thing that people could use to destroy him and he made it his biggest selling point, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I want to say, Dave, this is really awesome. I appreciate you sharing. I think you had some really great views. We don't really have many capital raisers on here, but I think it's really good, even for somebody who's a passive investor, to evaluate and say, is this person, you know, this, and then people will do this subconsciously, right? They'll say, is this person, you know, they don't really care what you know until they know how much you care. And there's some people that hang, hey, I've got a deal, I've got this, that, whatever. And there was a time 4 or 5 years ago where you could just, hey, I've got a deal, and people would literally jump to your deal. It was great. Now it's like, there's a lot more that goes into it. There's a lot of relationship. There's a lot of, you know, can I trust you just from a trust standpoint as a person? Can I trust your competence in a deal, and how you set that up? Is a lot of it's just being willing to have conversations and being honest about the areas that you fall short in. Because again, we want to get out of a place where, you know, nobody wants to be sold, but everybody wants to buy, right? Everybody wants to be a buyer. And so how do we set up a way that's high trust in doing it? So I just want to honor you for creating that space on this show, creating a space for people, the books that you've written, the systems that you have. What are ways people can reach out to you and connect with you and hear about what you're doing?
Well, thanks. So if you can connect with me on LinkedIn, I think there's only one Dave Dubeau on LinkedIn, a real estate guy. So that'd be a great way to go, especially if you're an active real estate investor. If you'd like to be on my show, you can click on the link in my LinkedIn there. If you are interested in whether you're a capital raiser or not, like if you're, this really works for anything, you guys that are in the quote unquote high ticket sales arena. This whole podcast idea will work well for that. So whether you're thinking about using a podcast for capital raising or just connecting with your ideal customer, you can find out our whole process. I give you a free copy of my book. It's at 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com. You can go there, give me your name and your email address. I'll give you a free copy of the book. You'll be in my system. If you want to reach out, we can do it that way as well.
Awesome. I appreciate you, Dave. This is great. Thanks so much. We'll look forward to connecting with you again soon. Appreciate you being here. Thanks, man.
Thanks, you guys.
Wow. Well, Nate, there was some serious nuggets. That was one of the most nugget-packed episodes I think we've ever done. It was amazing. I mean, just the approach, again, of coming from a place of service and really saying, how can I help this person, right? And really being in a place of like, hey, I'm just here to help you, and really meaning it. You know, I think the best people in this industry are trustworthy people that are not trying to just pitch something. They really have a sense of mission around what they're doing and a sense of purpose. Is like, I just really want to help people get where they want to go.
I loved it. Yeah, I thought, first of all, selling as a service was really, really helpful. I also just really liked his strategy of inviting his best customers and clients on a podcast to talk about it, right? There's so many different wins with that, right? He had the 3 R's, right? You get the ratings and the reviews from that person. So now you have all these testimonials, video proof that people like you. Then you get the re-up. So get them to buy a second or third time. Then you also get referrals from them. And I like the way that he set it up, where he's not asking people to refer their friends and family to acquire capital. He's asking for referrals to people to interview on his podcast. And so it's just a really, really easy way to serve people. And I think the reason he has been so successful is he's really serving people really, really well, and from a bunch of different angles.
Yeah, and that's it. You know, be of service, be useful, be available. I think that's huge. So hopefully you got something valuable out of this for yourself. You're either a capital raiser, or you're at least to see behind the curtain of capital raising and really what good capital raising looks like. And again, just building trust with people, I think, is really good capital raising, especially when things don't go well. My friend Ken McElroy says, you know, delivering bad news early builds trust, right? It's worst thing finding out 6 months later that something bad was happening in the deal. And deals, some go great, some don't go as well. So it's being open and honest about that is really important. So we'd love to know your comments below, what you got out of this. We do have a capital raiser guide if you'd like that. It's free. It's 40 pages, all my best secrets about capital raising. You can text the word RAISE, R-A-I-S-E, if I can spell it, R-A-I-S-E to the number 33777. And we'll just send you a free copy of it. Again, it's based on my masterclass. I have a $1,000 masterclass on capital raising. We'll send you this 40-page guide for free, and we'll just share it with you because we want to help you grow in your capital raising. So Nate, thanks for being here. Thanks for our audience. Appreciate you guys. Look forward to seeing you in the next episode of the Mailbox Money Show. You've been listening to the Mailbox Money Podcast. For more free resources, articles, and videos, go to bronsonequity.com. There you can download your copy of the special report, The Single Best Investment Strategy During and After a Pandemic. None of the information shared here is an offer to buy a specific investment, and this is for educational purposes only. Consult your financial, legal, and tax professionals and use your own common sense before making any investment decisions. Thanks for joining us, and be sure to tune in next time for more Mailbox Money.